Hi, I'm Katie Kempner, and welcome to Perspectives here at Advertising Week Europe. Perspectives is a series of remarkable conversations with inspiring women who are leading successful and busy lives. And right now, it is my pleasure to be talking with Ann Wixley of WaveMaker. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for being here. So you are Executive Creative Director, right? And that is a position you said you created there.
Yes, a long time ago when I came over from South Africa to London, I started working at MEC, which was the agency that WaveMaker has become. And it struck me that there was so much creative thinking and interesting thinking in a media agency that it made sense for us to signal that and define that. So working with the leadership team there, we created this role of a creative director in a media agency, and it's grown from there.
I love the idea that you created your own role, that you saw something and you created your own role.
It's That's called making it up as I go along.
As you go along. I did the same thing years and years ago at Crispin Porter and Bogusky. I said, you should have a PR director. And they're like, okay, well, what would that look like? I mean, now, that's a very common thing. So, but we were 30 people. I said, okay, well, I'm going to get us an ad week and ad age and like the American equivalents of campaign. And so it was interesting. Now, one of the things that I'd love to talk with you about is I know you have a very strong feeling around diversity, a lot of opinions on how to help be role models for other women.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. One of the reasons why I think this is really important is that because we've historically had a limited pool of female leaders out there, people coming up and colleagues see not as many shapes of female leadership. So for me, it's really important for people to see all different types, because it takes all different types of people to lead well and work well. So, I'm all for, I might not be to somebody else's style in terms of how I manage myself or how I try to lead people. But what's important about perspectives is for other people to just see lots of different shapes and types of women doing it in their own way, and within that they'll find inspiration and support, I guess.
Thank you. That's exactly how I feel. So, and I appreciate you coming to talk with me about it. I think you're right. I think it's very important for people to understand they have to figure out, number one, their own path, but then also there has to be people that they can look to, women especially, I feel, that they can say, oh, I can identify with that thing about that woman. And it's very inspirational.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's also something about, so I also believe that one of the keys to kind of juggling everything is to surround yourself with diverse people. Mm-hmm. So I to manage this job and manage kind of time, which seems to be speeding up as we age, you need the help of a great team of people, and you need people who think differently to you. I believe in people who disagree with you. That's really important. That's how you work out how to how to fill the gaps, how to build better, and to have critics. That's really important, to listen to your critics as much as have people who are there supporting you and have faith in you.
So the conversation around how you get to that, where there is enough diversity in your workplace. I mean, I was looking back at some interviews I did here a couple of years ago and was having conversations about how are we going to push the diversity initiatives. And I think that seems to continue to be such a challenge, though, especially for this industry. Would you agree?
Yes, I think so. I mean, one of the things we're doing at WaveMaker, which I'm really inspired by, is we have an apprenticeship program called Splash, and that's all about getting new people trying out, getting into media content tech and coming in to work with us. And that's not about young or midweight or old. It's about open to everyone. So, and that's a you have to be conscious and explicit about that, saying our doors are open to everyone, and not assuming that new means young, that new means new, and being open to that. I think open-mindedness all the time is important.
Yeah. Well, that's another kind of diversity, right? Sort of like ageism. So
Yes.
if you're not young, you're not going to understand the tech space or anything that's going on in there. My dad, who's a philosophy professor, is perhaps one of the most tech-forward people I've ever met. Early adopter of everything.
And he understands the meaning of life.
Well, more or less. We had very interesting dinner time conversations. So you mentioned juggling things, and I'd love to talk about that because I'm very interested in how whatever people are doing, how they're sort of balancing the combination of their work life and their personal life. I think that's a huge struggle. I think for women in general, women, it's for everybody. Women more than men, I find often, although maybe that's a little unfair for me at this point in culture to say that. But however you sort of balance it out or organize it is interesting to me. And you said something to me before about feeling quite passionately about what you do, and that must take up a lot of what you do.
Yes, it does. It takes up a lot of brain widths, because the thinking you do, so I'm in the creative space, so the best thinking happens when you're not working, when you're doing something else. Mm-hmm. So you kind of need time to be pottering around vaguely. That's when pennies drop in the back of your head. So it's trying to get that space, that third space between work and life. That's where I think your best thinking happens. I guess the juggle, to me, I think it's trying to think about things as not work versus life, but thinking of them both together, and trying to work with your partner to manage the load and the balance. And trying to work with your team to work out how best to navigate an extremely busy week, which seems to be every week. So it's about kind of pulling in, working with people and opening up and collaborating with them, because there's no way you can do it on your own. That's the key to the juggle, is you can't do it on your own. Mm-hmm. And when you get into stress, you tend to kind of close down and focus in. And actually what you need to do is open out and go, okay, how can I turn this into a brief and open this out to other people to help make it possible?
That makes a lot of sense. Third space, just can you elaborate on that for a second? So the one, you're working or you're home, but then you consider it like a third space where you're being able to come up with ideas?
Yes, I just kind of made that up, but it is a third space. I think it's where you're in between. So you're not kind of producing something directly, and you're not engaging directly with your partner. It's the in between bit. It's the commute. It's the putting your makeup on. It's the moment of truth when you're brushing your teeth and you checking in with yourself to go, am I getting this right? Am I prioritizing right? Has the balance gone awry again? Which is probably a daily conversation with oneself. And it's in those times when you checking in on if you're following the compass that you set for yourself, both from a integrity point of view as a human being, and from a balance point of view in terms of being able to give enough love to all the people that you have, agreed that with.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I just like to end my interviews asking if there's one piece of advice that has helped guide you through your career and your life that you could share with all of us. What is it?
Big question.
Big question.
Can I have two pieces of advice?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I would say the first piece of advice is something I know for myself, and that is to know thyself, to try to get to know your own mind, how you work, what are the tricks to sorting yourself out if you're in stress, knowing what your gaps are, so because that's the key to collaboration, because somebody else is much better than you at something, and that's important to know that, knowing what your strengths are so you can build on them. So know thyself, that's a good starting point, because then you know how to work with others. And the second thing is something that somebody once said to me, and it was related to relationships, but I think it applies to how you navigate the world, and that is to own your own shit and to not be not a nice person. There's another word for that, but and that's important. So that's linked to know thyself, because that's about being accountable for what you've done wrong and what you could do better and what you've done right. And the second thing is just to be a decent person. That's the most, integrity throughout, no matter what. That counts for everything.
It really does. Thank you so much for talking with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you.